This is Combat365.tv. Like and subscribe for more hard-hitting combat sports content. Here at Combat365.tv, we've been pretty vocal regarding how awesome UFC International Fight Week is going to be. Of course, two major UFC Championship fights await us on July 7th in Las Vegas, but UFC 226 is not the only event set for Fight Week. The day before, UFC will host the finale of The Ultimate Fighter Season 27 at the Pearl Theater in Paradise, Nevada. So with two fantastic cards to look forward to on July 6th and 7th, Combat365.tv takes a look at 5 fights you don't want to miss at UFC International Fight Week. Number 5. Lightweight fight. Luis Pena versus Richie Smullen, The Ultimate Fighter. UK and Irish MMA fans will be familiar with Richie Smullen, having competed on BAMMA as well as Cage Warriors affiliate show Shinobi War. Despite his glowing potential, the young Irishman from Straight Blast Gym crashed out of the show after being medically disqualified following the effects of overtraining. Meanwhile, Luis Pena suffered an equally cruel fate in his elimination from the show. Aptly nicknamed Violent Bob Ross due to his likeness to the legendary American painter, Luis Pena scored the decision over Jose Martinez Jr. in the opening round of the tournament. However, a metatarsal fracture saw his premature exit from the competition. So with both men having much to prove after their early departures, expect this one to be fire. Number 4. Lightweight fight. Lando Vannata versus Drakkar Klose, UFC 226. Vannata stormed to prominence early on in his UFC career when he got the call on 2 weeks' notice to fight number 3 ranked lightweight Tony Ferguson in July 2016. Despite the short notice call-up and no expectations, Vannata took the fight to T-Ferg, almost finishing his opponent in the first before being submitted in round 2. Drakkar Klose is looking to rebound after losing to Tamor at UFC 218 last December. The Michigan-born fighter presents a strong grappling base, a skill set he used to beat hot UK prospect Mark Diakese at last year's International Fight Week. But can he keep the streak alive this year? Number 3. Middleweight fight. Uriah Hall versus Paulo Costa, UFC 226. Headlining the Fox Sports prelims, Uriah Hall returns for the first time since September 2017 to face undefeated Brazilian Paulo Costa. Hall was booked to fight against Vitor Belfort on the UFC Fight Night Stevens vs Choi card. However, Hall was withdrawn from that card after he failed to show at the weigh-ins. The medical report stated that Hall had fainted en route and suffered a mini seizure and slight heart attack. Surprisingly, Hall elected to return to the octagon just 3 months after his ordeal. In his comeback, he was scheduled to fight Paulo Costa, but that fight was scrapped and rescheduled when the Brazilian suffered an arm injury. Now rebooked for UFC 226, Costa has wowed fans ever since stepping into the octagon in March 2017, finishing all 3 of his opponents, including former UFC welterweight title challenger Johnny Hendricks. Number 2. Light heavyweight fight. Gokhan Saki vs Khalil Roundtree Jr. UFC 226. Opening up the pay-per-view portion of UFC 226, former kickboxing world champion Gokhan Saki is set to fight for the second time in the UFC. Saki is renowned for his elite striking ability, which saw him find great success in K1, It's Showtime and Glory. He utilized this in his octagon debut, knocking out Henrique de Silva in the first round of their fight at UFC Fight Night 117 last September. The question marks obviously remain regarding his ground game, but the UFC have matched him up fairly with another heavy striker, Khalil Roundtree Jr. Roundtree may be 2-2 and won no contest so far in his UFC career, but as he displayed in his knockouts of Daniel Jolly and Paul Craig, he has the prowess to pull out a finish from thin air. Number 1. Middleweight fight. Brad Tavares versus Israel Adesanya, The Ultimate Fighter Finale. It's the gritty wrestling of Extreme Couture's Brad Tavares against the flashy Super Saiyan striking style of Izzy Adesanya. The last style bender made the shift from kickboxing to MMA at the start of 2018. He immediately dazzled fans in his octagon debut with an absolute desecration of Rob Wilkinson in Perth, Australia. The New Zealander had a much tougher second bout though, and had to dig deep to defeat Marvin Vettori at UFC on Fox 29 in April, earning a split decision win. Tavares, on the other hand, has been a mainstay in the UFC since 2010, getting his start in the promotion under the Ultimate Fighter banner. Since then, the Las Vegas native has gone on to secure high-profile wins against Lorenz Larkin, Nate Marquardt, and Elias Theodorou, which has boosted him to the number 8 ranking spot. But what do you think? What other fights are going under the radar at UFC International Fight Week? Let us know in the comment section below. Can BJJ phenom Brian Ortega shock the system at UFC 226? Click the video on the left to see our analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to Combat365.tv for more hard-hitting combat sports content.